Kraut. We're going to make it a very traditional way with our cabbage and our lovely sausages. It's going to be incredible. A traditional German sauerkraut on iFoods. So the first step of making a sauerkraut, and this is the lengthy part of the process, is we're going to just salt the cabbage. Now what you're going to end up with, this is one that I've taken from a jar. You can buy sauerkraut. It's not bad, but we're going to make a homemade one, which is always better. Now to achieve this, we've got a cabbage. I've got about 1 kilo of cabbage here. I'm just going to take out that little root. The cabbage is one of the healthiest vegetables you will ever come across. They use it a lot for fighting cancer. A lot of places even will give you cabbage juice. It really is absolutely packed full of goodness. And the beauty of this dish is, when you cook vegetables, they lose a lot of their nutrients. We're not going to cook it at all here. We're going to salt it, and that means that it's going to retain all those lovely nutrients. So slice it really nice and thin. So the next stage, once we've got all our cabbage nice and thinly sliced, then the next thing we do is our sea salt goes in there on top. And we're just going to very slowly massage that salt into the cabbage for about 3 or 4 minutes, just to make sure that every little grain of salt has been evenly distributed throughout that cabbage. So once you've finished after 4 minutes massaging that, we want to really press it down. And that's the key to sauerkraut. When they're making it in Germany, they make it over months and they'll put it in presses and slowly make it. Unfortunately, I don't think we've got months on our hands, but a few hours we'll get the same process happening. Now what I need is a weight, nice and heavy, to push that down. I'm going to use my good friend Roscoe. Set him on there, and he's going to look after it for me. Don't let anybody get in there. So 3 hours. We'll take that away and leave it outside, and that should be nicely reduced by the time we're finished. So the cabbage has had that weight on it for about 3 hours, and I think you'll all agree Roscoe's done a great job. Thank you, Roscoe. Now, all right. Okay. So we'll look in here. Oh yeah, that cabbage is exactly how I want it. So I'm just going to strain my cabbage and rinse it off. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to bring it back across here. I've got a nice sized pot. It's going to go in there, and we're basically going to cook it very slowly now and keep all those lovely juices in the one pot. I'm just going to add a couple of flavourings. So first, a little bit of white pepper. We want to keep that cabbage nice and white, so we're not going to grate big chunks of pepper in there. That's why we're using the white. Some juniper berries, which have a nice strong distinctive flavour, and they'll really work well in there. And also a really essential part, a couple of bay leaves. Now to top all that off, I've got a nice Riesling wine, and I always say, if you wouldn't be prepared to drink it yourself, why would you cook with it? Now I've just kept enough for 1 glass, which we'll have with our sauerkraut later on. So that's on. I'm going to turn the gas on. I've got a nice low to medium heat, and we're going to cook that really slowly for about 45 minutes until that cabbage really softens up. So that cabbage has been cooking away for 45 minutes, and you can see that it's really softened up. That is really smelling and looking fantastic. So I'm just going to transfer it to a plate for a few minutes, and then we'll be able to sweat off our onions in this pot. Back onto the heat it goes, and I'm going to get a nice few nubs of butter in there. Now we're very slowly going to sweat off our onions. As soon as that butter melts, in go our onions. We want to keep this like a nice medium heat, so they just sweat off nice and slowly. I'm also going to add white pepper, some sea salt, a couple of nice flavourings, which is a bay leaf and some cloves. The cloves will really perfume through that so nicely. That's going to be incredible. I'm also going to add 2 cloves of garlic. I'm not going to chop them. I'm just going to give them a quick smash each, and in they go. So I'll let those sweat for another 2 to 3 minutes until the onions become nice and soft. So you can see those onions have really sweated down, softened up, and we're ready to go to the next stage, which is to get our cabbage back, and we're just going to place half of that in to our pot. And that forms a nice base for the lovely meat that we're going to put in here. So on that nice base of cabbage and onions, I'm going to place all my meat. Now the beauty of this is the meat's going to sit between 2 layers of cabbage, and there's lots of nice flavour and moisture in there. So all our meat is going to be so tender by the time it steams up. Nice Frankfurter sausages. I'll just lay them in there. I also have some regular pork sausages. Now really, with this part of the sauerkraut, you're absolutely free to put whatever you want in yourself. Your favourite meats, but mostly pork. Pork and cabbage is one of those classic combinations. So a couple of pork chops go in there. I've also got some nice bacon. And not only will the cabbage make sure that the bacon and the sausages are nice and moist, all that lovely flavour from those meats is going to cook into that cabbage. And that's the meaning of sauerkraut. It's basically a little bit different from a stew, but the same processes are evident. In goes our nice bratwurst sausage, and to top it all, I've got a lovely piece of ham. I'm just going to set that on top. And then what we do is we get the rest of our cabbage and just over the top, liquid and all. So the next ingredients that I'm going to add is some nice chicken stock. And 1 more glass of that lovely Riesling wine. So I'm just going to turn the temperature right down to the lowest possible setting. We'll pop a lid on that and cook it for about 1.5 hours, 2 hours until everything's